Blessings beyond imagination. My name is Love Tashia Asante, and I am host and producer of The Window. I'm so excited today, fam, to welcome my beloved sister, the incredible author, writer. I'm going to tell you all about her. Y'all come on in, and share the video. Tag some friends because you are in for a treat today. I want to tell you a little bit about my sister Sharon. And I know y'all are coming on in. I see you coming on in. Welcome, everybody. We are so fortunate today to have with us, to me, what is a literary hero. I was telling her before the show started how much she inspired me, and that she is one of the authors who gave me the courage to write. So I remember finding her book and reading that book cover to cover, like in one sitting. I could not stop turning the pages of that book. And I just found out that she has a new rendition of the book today with new stories and new parts of it. So she's going to be talking about that. And maybe we'll hear an excerpt or something. We'll be gifted with an excerpt. So I am just, without further ado, I want to tell you a little bit about her work. Sharon Bridgforth is a 2023 United States Artist Fellow. She is also the 2022 winner, y'all, of the Yale's Wyndham Campbell Prize in Drama. Now, I have to tell y'all, because I've been a writer for 25 years. Do you know how hard it is? Sharon is going, girl, you have no idea how hard it is to get recognition from institutions like this. Like, this is blood, sweat, and tears, fam, that she has been able to accomplish this. Sharon Bridgforth is a 20 to 2023 Playwrights Center core members. She also is a McKnight National Fellow and a New Dramatist alumni. A Doris Duke performing artist, she has received support from Creative Capital, MAP Fund, and the National Performance Network. Her work is featured in Volume 110, Number 4, Winter 22 of the Yale Review. And again, we are excited about an announcement I'm about to tell you that our brother Stephen Fullwood helped to manifest. But these accomplishments as well, and being acknowledged by academic institutions like this, are so important to a writer. Sometimes it means you can pay your bills because you have, right? You're not it. Sharon also taught some groundbreaking courses: The Craft of Teaching on Black Life and Literature, Mouths of Rain, an anthology of Black lesbian thought and feminist studies. She also, in Volume 48, Number 1, honoring 40 years of this bridge called My Back, and Some of Us Are Brave. Sharon's Bull Jean and Dim Day Back. Y'all don't understand. Bull Jean and Dim Day Back. And All These Things, a conversation by Sharon Bridgforth and Daniel Alexander Jones, are published by the 53rd State Press. And that's another incredible brother, Daniel Alexander. That's another show. I tell y'all about him too. He's awesome. And then there's a book party documentary directed by Adelina Anthony that Sharon is also a part of. And the big news that we wanted to tell you about is that thanks to archivist Stephen G. Fullwood, the Sharon Bridgforth papers 1989 to 2015 are now archived at the Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture in the Manuscripts, Archives, and Rare Books Division in the New York Public Library. This is so important for us, family, because, as we know, there is a war on books by Black writers. And many of our books have been banned. I mean, we're talking about Maya Angelou and Bell Hooks, books banned. So it's so important that we empower each other and that we ensure our stories are being told. So without further ado, I want to introduce my sister. I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for your words, your pen, your voice, your courage. And I've always wanted to tell you how much you inspired me and gave me courage to write. When I met you, I had never written a book. And by God's grace, I've written 9 books now because of people like you, because you inspired me. So tell us, I know I sent you some questions. And of course, I always want to know who inspired you. Like when you were thinking about becoming a writer, what gave you courage to write that first poem or that first book or that first line in a book? What was it that gave you your courage?
Thank you. Love Tashia, you are my Shiro, and you've been supporting me since the very beginning. I have so many precious memories of your active support and of me watching you on stage and feeling like, oh man, things are possible that are in my spirit that I didn't know were possible. So thank you for all that you do, all that you are, for your fierceness, and for the spiritual work that this is. You giving us a platform um, to talk and to invite our communities in with so much grace. I'm very, very deeply grateful. And so you're part of that journey with me. And as I just kind of breathed and opened as we talked about before we started live streaming and received that bio, um, I know that I am standing here in this moment with all that because of so many prayers, so many people that just loved me, so many people that pushed me forward and believed in me and helped me. So this is a moment of great, great, deep gratitude that I'm in with you. And I think for me, when I started writing when I was 15, and I didn't share my work publicly until I was about 30 something. It wasn't until I moved from LA to Austin, Texas. So I grew up in South Central LA. I was raised by people that were part of the great African American migration. And I grew up going to Memphis a lot as a kid, which is where my mom is from. And I I think I just loved my elders so much. Like um they were fine and they were like powerful and they were raucous and they were self-determining. They were also a hot mess. They could sing, they could dance, they could cook. Like I just looked up to them so much. And on my mom's side of the family, she raised me as a single parent. Though I have 6 parents, that's another story. But I do have lots of other influences. But in this moment, I'll speak about those early ones with my mom. I was the youngest in the family for a very long time. And I have this memory of being about 5 and I was in Memphis. My mom's family was, it was segregation. They lived in a part of Memphis called Orange Mound in a shotgun house, which today they'd be calling a tiny house and charging, $300,000. But but anyway, I have this memory of I used to love my great grandmother, like their bed was really high up. And I used to love to just lay under the bed. And what I realized much later was she was dying. And I was under that bed. I think she was transmitting things to me. And so that, along with the fact that 2 of my great aunts were teachers and they instilled a love of reading and education in me at a very young age. And then whenever I was in LA, I was a latchkey kid. I was on them buses. They would have put my mom would have been in jail because I was on them buses by myself, public transportation at too young an age, going too far. But I read, I read. So around 15, when I just started feeling wrong in my body. Like what I now know is, first of all, I was a lesbian, and I didn't have language for that I could reflect inside with in a way that was positive. And I also always felt multi-gendered. And so certainly in that time period, like there was just no language that I could access easily to understand who I was. But what I was clear about was the people around me didn't want me. Like it was cute when I was young and I was a tomboy, but then when I became a teenager and I was still like that, like it wasn't cool with them.
Mm,
And so I
mm,
just started writing. It was a natural impulse. And then I wanted to tell stories like my family did. So lots of things happening at the same time, songs swirling with spoken words and yeah, just a prayer always, and then I shared that work later. But I think initially I was just trying to survive how I felt
mm,
inside.
mm.
And also there were some cute women. I started going to poetry readings because Michelle T. Clinton was a poet, and she was mentored by Wanda Coleman. So I would go to later on, a little bit later. I would go to. I think I was in my early 20s then. I would go to Beyond Baroque and go, and so I don't know. Things just opened.
Mm. Wow. I mean, those some of those names, I just remember that era of
Yeah.
you, of Colette, of Michelle T.
Yes.
Clinton, of
Yes.
Akila Oliver, who was one of my
Yes.
teachers. You know,
Yes.
that was like, I mean, y'all were revolutionary. Like
Well.
y'all were saying stuff that you can't say on TV. I mean, and Michelle, she would just shake
Oh
the room like
wow.
people would. It would be like church, right?
It
Um,
totally,
oh my
totally.
God, I remember a
Yeah.
show, and I don't know if you were in this one at Highways. Uh, you remember that show?
Which
Oh my!
one?
You like which one? Well, there was this show that someone, I think it might have been Colette or either Michelle, who put this cross on their back,
Oh,
and
I
they
didn't
were
see
on the
that one.
stage. That like
Oh,
that changed worlds for me. Like
wow.
it was a
Yeah.
whole thing. Like the black woman, being a black feminist, being a black woman, and carrying a cross on your back. Being the goddess of humanity.
Yeah.
It was just
Yeah.
so revolutionary. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
I mean, and around that time, I remember having when you came out to sit with, like, you took really, it felt like a whole day to sit with a group of me and other writers in West LA at my home in the
Yeah.
clubhouse where I
I
live.
remember that.
And
Yeah.
you inspired us. I mean, you had us crying. It was like ceremony. It wasn't just a book event, it was like ceremony. And it was the
Yeah.
first version of the Bull Jean stories.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, just one of the things that struck me so much, and I wanted to, this was my second question to you, was this language that you use in your writing. And to me, you combine like haiku, prose, poetry, spoken word. It's like you almost make a soup of all of these genres, and then you bring these languages down from the ancestors. And I know they're from the ancestors because when I read them, you get that tingle, and the hair
Mm,
on your hands is like, this is an ancestor speaking in this book.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you think about that and the magic and the mysticism that you bring to your words and as a writer,
Mm,
how did you learn to do that? What gave you that? I know it was the ancestors. I know it was laying under that bed, but
mm-hmm.
somehow you figured out how to put it on the page and make it all flow and make
Mm,
sense. Where did that come?
thank you so much. And by the time I had the privilege of being with you and the group of writers at your home, that must have been around 1998, 99, something like that. And by that time, I had been out on the road a lot.
Mm, okay.
So I've been a touring artist since 1991 and a self-employed touring artist since 1998. And but I was trained by community organizers. So when I had a day job, my day job was in social services. I managed syphilis cases for the Austin Travis County Health Department. I was with the first wave of HIV outreach workers and street activists in Austin. And in Austin, I moved from LA to Austin in '89. And in those days, um, the people, Austin was still a small town. And so we could find each other.
Okay.
And the people doing the incredible, incredible work and activism and organizing, they were artists. They were mostly women of color, but they were, all genders,
Mm,
mostly people of color, and they were working globally.
mm,
And honestly, when they found out that I had these suitcases of work, they pushed me to use that work. And so
mm.
even when I stopped with the day jobs, because of my training, Marsha Ann Gomez, Raul Salinas, Ana
Yes.
Cisnet, Maria Limon, later Lori Carlos, who was the original Woman in Blue and the original For Color Girls. Like there's a long list of people that Robbie McCulley that took me
Mm,
in and just loved me and just
mm.
like it was like an old fashioned apprenticeship. And so you
Yes.
learn by doing, you learn by driving the people to the store. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I used to carry the
Yes.
art, the sculpted pieces into the thing. And by doing and trying things.
That's right.
And also, I got sober in 1995. And I started, quite honestly, seeing spirits and dead people, and I was like, "Y'all can't. I don't know what to do with this. You scaring me. I need you to come here another way." And I
Mm,
think because of how I had been trained as an organizer, and the work for me was my spiritual practice,
mm.
and I think for writers, it's true. You have to know how to listen
Yes.
to receive the work. And so I think there is a way that I was able to receive the work
Mm.
whole spiritly. And
Yes.
then with the work, I was honestly always the starting place for all of it was my own brokenhearted wounds.
Ah,
And so going straight into the wound,
mm,
opening, and
mm.
then
Yeah.
intending and reaching for healing and love, and then
Mm.
offering that out. And so the work becomes itself. So, yes, I did a lot of research. I did a lot of collaborations. I tried a lot of things, and the work becomes itself with tending. But that starting place is deep, 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 deep inside. And with the bulging stories, the original one that Lisa Seymour from Redbone Press, another
Yes.
icon who
Right.
broke ground, shaped things, changed things,
Yes.
made a way out of no way.
Yes.
Um, so with that bulging stories, um, by the time I started writing them, which was probably around 19, I think the first bulging piece came to me in 95. All of the elders on my mom's side, the ones that I grew up with, except one had died. And so honestly, I was really grieving and I wanted to hear their voices. And so, influenced by Indazaki Shange for Colored Girls Who've Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough, and so many others, I wanted to use the page as a canvas to hold the music that is Black language. So when I think
Mm.
about how my family talks, whether it's the ones from New Orleans on my dad's and stepmom's side, or my mom's side from Memphis, there is, and those musics are very different. They're very
Mm.
different. So
Mm.
later, I think I figured out how to be in all of it. But with the bulging stories, I was just trying to hear this particular way, which I identify as blues, which is my heart voice. And
Yeah.
so, not that my family actually talked like that, they certainly
Mm.
wouldn't have been telling me no stories about no
Right.
bulldaggers.
Right. Right. Okay. You know.
But
Right.
yeah, no, no.
Mm-hmm.
But a yearning to hear, feel, and conjure them, and
Yes.
then a playing with the page. And so that writing really landed me firmly in my heart voice. And
Mm.
then I was then able to later, I think, move into my fuller voice, which is a jazz voice, but jazz comes from blues, so it makes sense.
Mm.
And I'll
Wow.
just one more piece to it. Because I
Yes.
had been doing street outreach for so long, um, and like with the health department, I was managing syphilis cases, so I had to find people and anonymously get them to come in and get tested. And then with the HIV testing, we were kind of with that first wave that was doing that. So it was like you had to figure out how to um, be in community invited. And so there were all these people who were clearly dykes,
Mm,
clearly women loving women, clearly generations older than me, who everybody knew, who I'd often get sent to go get information from.
right.
And so I started trying to imagine how it would feel to be a part of the community and not feel so separate in my body or separate in my hurt, the ways that I had been hurt from it. And so I did do a lot of research, but also that yearning I think it actually helped me get sober,
Yes.
because it was so healing.
Wow.
So I wanted Bull Jean to be a butch, southern, rural
Mm,
lesbian. And I wanted
mm,
her to learn how to live and speak from her heart as opposed to replicating um, patriarchal harm.
yes.
So she had a little journey. She was very dramatic in her little choices and whatnots.
Yes. Yes. Oh
but
my
but she did get there. She did get there.
goodness. And such an authentic voice, you know. I mean, you touched on so many things. I just watched an interview recently with Dr. Maya Angelou, and this reporter was asking her about her academic background, her level of formal education. And she said, "Oh no, I don't have any. And yes, I speak 10 languages and I teach at Yale and I teach at Harvard." It was so hilarious. But
Hmm.
you talked about getting that initial education from community, and
Yes.
that they were the first ears and eyes for your words. Is like you went to their school, so
Yeah.
like that was the school that raised you and shaped you. And then when you did all the other things, that piece was already so holy, that sacred part of your writing, and your voice was already there, so no one could
Yeah.
shift it. And that
Yeah.
made me think about how hard it was to get a publisher for writing like that, because
Mm.
I know when I began to like submit stories to publishers and submit my books, and all my books have a same gender loving person in them, and I don't
Hmm.
make it separate. I just make it like they're a part of the world, because they are a part of the world.
Right.
and
Right.
and I think
Right.
your book, one of the things that I remember it did for me was because the contributions of same gender loving, bisexual, and trans people to communities, to families, to churches, to mosques, to synagogues, or whatever, is often made invisible and minimized.
Yes.
And when I saw the richness of the characters, like, wow, this is Big Mama, this is Medea, this is all of these other people, but she wearing some pants and a blazer and a Stetson brim.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Right. But she was doing
Yeah.
this, she was rich. She was our safe place. Like she
Yeah.
was my safe place. Bull Jean was
Mm.
my safe place. It's like I could open that book with that beautiful cover, and sometimes I would just stare at the cover. And I don't know if you have
Yeah.
a copy of the new book, but I would love it if you would put that on camera, because I want
Okay.
everybody watching. If you're just tuning in, you're watching The Window. We have the incredible guest, award-winning author and writer Sharon Bridgforth is our guest today, and she's going to hold up a copy of her newest book. And I would love it if y'all would all get that book today. Like, let her feel our love, community. Let's blow it up. Like, let's make a dent. Like, they want to know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Thank
Everybody. And we're going to
you.
put the link in the chat in just a minute. And Tina says, I need that book. Communicates from Sacramento.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You got to please bring sister. I will drive up to Sacramento. We'll have like a family reunion. They do a beautiful poetry event there, and we call it
Yeah.
Sacktown, Southern California. And Tina
Yes.
the poets that makes a lot of culture happen. So absolutely,
Oh,
I'm so glad that you're here. And I know you know about some Sharon Bridgforth, Tina. So that's the book family. That's the new rendition. And
yeah.
also there's plays. There's the archive. Like we need a group event. If y'all are on the East Coast and you're watching this either right now live or by replay, plan a group event to go check out the archive at the Schomburg. Like put up a
Mm,
Facebook event. Like we
mm,
have to start doing better about that, fam, across the
mm,
nation. We have to galvanize when one of us does something. We do a
mm,
project and get behind each
mm,
other and make sure there's the
mm,
visibility for that book or that project.
mm,
Because that's what
mm.
other people do. I'm just saying, right? Miss Bridgeford
Yes.
did a theater performance, a stage performance, and it was part ceremony, it was part theater, it was part drama, it was part spoken word, and again, your mastery in bringing these
Mm,
genres of dance, of jazz, of spoken word together and
mm,
making a literary gumbo that
mm. Oh, I like that.
okay, that just
Yeah.
feeds us in the way that you do. How do you
Mm,
combine these genres so masterfully? Like, what goes through your mind when you're like, okay, I'm gonna bring some jazz in over here. You over here, Laura, you gonna bring some spoken word. Omi, you gonna
mm,
call down the ancestor. You know, how do you
mm,
put that in your mind and make it
mm.
jump off on the stage?
Thank you. And thank you because you were the one that made it possible. That was the Root Women Theater Company
Yes,
performing
yes,
No More Blues
yeah,
in LA at the Gay and Lesbian Center, I believe. Yeah,
yes.
in the
Ooh,
90s.
that
So
was
thank you. Thank you. That was, yeah, that was very incredibly important for us. So
mm,
thank you.
mm,
Yeah, I think, first of all, I'm Taurus, I'm stubborn. I'm from very stubborn people, self-determining. We are a mix of a whole lot of things. And I'm so grateful because I was, it's like I didn't have anything that school taught me to let go of. So I was free in my imagination and I was encouraged by people who were world changers through their use of creating art as a vehicle for social justice. And so I was encouraged. And people like Cherie Moraga, who just took me in and loved me and encouraged me. And as I said, Lori Carlos, Robbie McCauley, those are groundbreakers. And so, and I, had a communities of people that were also trying things and doing things and making things happen. And so we just did it. And because I was too ignorant to know what I was doing,
that part. Or
if
too
I had
brilliant.
known what I was doing, I would have thought I couldn't do it and I wouldn't have done it. But I was too ignorant. And then I was also too stubborn to stop. And I was very fortunate that I had collaborators like Sanja Parks, who's an incredible
Yes.
artist who is from Austin, Texas,
Mm,
and she was in the Root Women Theater Company along with some other women performers who were incredible. And but basically with Sanja, and we still work together to this day, I can just hand Sanja the text and say, "What do you think?" And that's how we used to work. I would be like, "What
okay.
you think, Sanja?" And she would try things, and I would know that things didn't work if it made her stumble.
Okay.
I would, so it's like I became aware of a creative process.
I see.
And I had a lot of mentorship by people who knew a lot more than me. And so essentially, again, I was just trying to tell stories as good as my family. And so I have these early memories of being a kid. You could be in the room, but you just had to hush. But like be at the party on Saturdays and people are dancing and this you hear, I remember I can feel hearing pork chops sizzling and
Mm,
the music is on and there's all kinds of dramas happening in different parts of the room and somebody is over there praying because their heart is broken.
yes.
Life has broken their heart or some person. And so it's like, how do I tell once I fell into my heart voice, that blues voice, then it was like, how do I how can I activate these stories in ways that break the room open like they did? And so
Mm,
by that time, I was looking at
mm,
my people from Louisiana. So my dad and my stepmom, who are from New Orleans. And it's like, um, yeah, so it's like, how do I how do I pray? How does the fact that there are no veils exist in this
mm,
raunchy story that is unfolding? How can love break open more
mm,
inside of pain? Like
mm,
yeah. So I think I just always looked to them. And then at some point, then I got to see people's work like Sekou Sundiata. I got to like just really know more about and have more language for what I was doing. But initially, for a long time, we just did it. And then later, uh, I learned what I was doing, and then I was able to continue to grow. And so, Dr. Omi Oshun Joni L. Jones, who's also my wife,
mm.
we moved
Brilliant.
to, yes, she is, and we moved to Austin at the same time. We've worked together since probably 1990. And we've been a couple since 2002. But she wrote the book about what Aisha Rahman named theatrical jazz, and she named
Mm,
that in the 70s. But Omi wrote the book. It's called Theatrical Jazz Performance, Ashe, and the Power of the Present Moment. And in
mm.
that, she
Cut it out.
gives the history going all the way, she shapes it back to Yoruba cosmologies, all
Mm,
the way to people like Laurie and Indazaki and Diane McIntyre and Robbie McCulley and Jessica Hagedorn and all these people who broke
mm,
that ground that then I got to step in and be a part of.
mm. To witness the bringing together of collections like this, of creations, is, to witness history,
Yeah,
that in and of itself is a healing. It is a
yeah,
spiritual healing, because
yeah,
we, again, the importance, we talked early in the show tonight about, telling these stories and making sure these stories get told.
yeah.
Your quote, I just quoted you on the comments. How can love break open inside of the pain? How love can break us open inside of the
Mhm.
pain. And
Yeah.
you conjure, I remember you used to talk about that a lot too in your writing, you still
Mhm.
do,
Mhm.
but you
Yeah.
conjure this character who really begins to love and celebrate herself
Yeah.
or themselves, in
Mhm.
how they come into being in these Bull Gene stories. And
Mhm.
I remember, I didn't even know what that word meant. When I read your
Mhm.
book, it was like, let me research. What is this? Is this me?
Mhm.
Am I a Bull Gene? Like, I wanted to understand more about this character because I had seen her.
Mhm.
And,
Mhm.
people Rex saw her, but they didn't acknowledge her.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
often,
Mhm.
she would move invisibly. She, even like
Mhm.
in the movie, there's a movie by Eddie Murphy where they had this character, and
Mhm.
she was a Bull Gene. She was a
Mhm.
Bull Gene, and
Mhm.
how she was so key in everything that was happening in the community, but nobody was talking about the way she
Right.
loved.
Right.
And you
Right.
bring that out in the book. You talk about, you were so bold and so courageous to talk about the way she loved. And I was wondering about, in
Mm.
the book, do you also capture those aspects of this person's being, of this character's being, and how and who they really are outside of how they look?
Mm. Thank you. Wow, so much comes that I want to say. I want to, when I was doing the outreach work and the work for the health department, where I had to find people and bring them in, and hopefully where me and the others that were doing that work in community were making services accessible. One of the things that became clear to me was everybody was having sex with everybody.
Mm,
And the ones that were lying about it and that were ashamed and that were doing harmful undercover
Mhm.
ways of living in that,
Mhm.
I never wanted to live like it was hard
Yes.
to witness.
Mhm.
And so it seeing how people's inability, and I understand it, it is complicated, and especially in those times and for different generations of people, um, it's not a given that we can be ourselves and be free and be safe. But
Yes.
I wanted to be free and be myself.
Mm.
And and I think I felt like I would rather um, I would be willing to take the consequences of that
Mm.
because I see what not doing that does. And again, because I had done so much research and because I had talked to so many people, I also saw that we were always there, even in my own family. A lot of my relatives, my mom's age, were gay. One of my great aunts was gay. Like in retrospect, I was like, oh my God, it was right there in front of my eyes the whole time.
Mhm.
But it wasn't.
Yes.
Um, and now I forgot the question.
We were just
What did you
talking
ask
about the
me?
character, and I was wondering,
Oh,
because one of the
yeah.
questions in the chat, she's so excited about getting this book. She says she's going to
Mhm.
go on and order all of Sharon and Omi's book. Kathy Fuller, welcome, welcome.
Oh, Kathy Fuller. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, bless
And
you.
but those characters in the book, I was asking about in this new one, and I can't wait to have it. I don't have the new one. I try to get everything you ever write and publish,
Oh,
like
thank you.
whether it's the
Thank you.
cards or whatever. I just love what you create. But in this new one, I was wondering about that character and if she lives as ferociously and is real, and is she recognized? Because the
Mm,
words of the books have a way of making people notice and say, okay, yeah, you really are here. You really do
yeah.
exist.
Yeah. I think Bull Jean, even in the early version, was
Yes.
part of the community, not separate from it. She
Ah,
was integral.
yes.
She was someone that people not only looked up to, but showed up for.
Mm.
And the same is true in the new one. And the new one, I had been wanting to write a new Bull Jean story since the 90s. And it was like she just wasn't talking to me. I couldn't hear her or feel her. And
Mm.
it was Marianne Adams from Atlanta, the Zami
Yes.
Nobla
Yes.
organization, who in around 2014, we were in the Bay Area and we had lunch. And Marianne said, "Where is Bull Jean?" I said, "Girl, I don't know." She said, "You know she's old, right?" I said, "Yeah, she old." And something about, and she said, "We need her."
Mm.
And something about that shifted something in me. And I didn't, which was an opening for Bull Jean. But Bull Jean didn't start coming through until, in terms of writing for me, until around 2018 or 19. And what happened was my mom fell and broke her neck in two places. And I
Jesus.
thought she was going to die. And my mom is fine. She drinking wine. Right now, she's over at the senior center in dance class. You
I
know,
love it.
she's
I
shaking her
love
tail feather in
it.
her chair exercise, what she calls dance class. So my mom's fine, but I thought she was gonna die, and it shifted everything inside of me. And I was like, all this pain and resentment I have been holding against this woman, and I had been writing my way through and healing through. I was like, none of that matters. How can I be who I want to be when I am with her? How can I love her? This woman that sacrificed her life for me, literally,
Mm.
and made sure that she did her very best at all times for me, even if, yeah, there was a lot of problems too, but I wanted to be loving and
Mm.
I wanted to release um, resentment and
Mm.
be with her with all the light that I pray I can be, you know? And
Mm.
so it is not, um, no, it's still a mess. Some days I'm
Yes.
better than others.
Yes. Yes.
But what happened is that's when Bull Jean came through. So the new Bull Jean piece, which is called Bulging We Wake,
Mm.
really is about the narrators moving towards being able to hold grief and love simultaneously. And so every
Come through.
bull,
Then. Oh,
bull gene is there. There are spirits, which are children that kind of fly, are there. There's the community from Bull Gene's time period. There are all these stories that are told and all these things that happen. But what you find out at the end is that it's really all to help the narrator.
mm.
And I, in retrospect, every single thing that I've ever written, that is what, and I'm the narrator. So
Ah, wow.
I've just been trying to heal this whole time, which I know, but I didn't really know until this. So that opened and allowed, and so Bulgine is really herself, but in this one, and her communities are there, but in this one, Bulgine is also dealing with grief.
Wow. And you said able to hold grief and love simultaneously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put that quote in the chat because that is so powerful. And just thank everyone. I see all of you here. I see Angie Harvey. I see Alexis Pauline, our
I
beloved.
love the Molly Cook.
Right?
I love you. I love you,
All
baby.
of you phenomenal people who are here. Please share the video. Please share the link to the book. And if you don't already have a copy of the book, please get the new book. We want to support, we want to love. You know, I'm going to be teaching later on this evening a course called Writing the Revolution for the Center for Indigenous and Black Praxis in the Bay Area. And one of the reasons why I wrote this course is because I have seen and experienced as an activist, as a writer and a journalist, how our writing can actually heal and address social justice. And so, one, I was wondering about, had you experienced homophobia? Had you experienced backlash for writing these books, throughout your career? And how did you move through that? How did you navigate homophobia, transphobia, in the context of being a writer and also a performing artist? And in
Thank
what
you.
ways did
Thank
you writing support your empowerment? I know it's a long question, but
you.
particularly around your experiences with homophobia as a result of writing these books.
Thank you, thank you. And thank you to everyone that's here. I really appreciate you. And I know that you are all doing work that is changing the world and touching communities. And so I appreciate and don't take for granted your time. And I thank you. Um, I experienced, so I'm 65, and it has always been evident that I am many gendered. When I was young, as I said earlier, they called me a tomboy. I did go through a period of trying to wear dresses, and oh God, that was painful. Uh,
Oh
I
God.
have some pictures of me. I was in Memphis and I was very little, and my aunts, it's a long story. Anyway, they had made
No.
me wear some dresses, and you could see on my face, I was just like,
You
it
didn't
was painful.
appreciate it. Right.
No, no, not one bit. But all that to say, I have experienced so much homophobia and gender phobia just in daily life all the time. And with the work, I think honestly that in addition to homophobia, racism showed up as something trying to block
Mm, mm,
the making of the work available and accessible through performance and through publication, because I was honoring our people. I was
mm,
honoring our black elder,
mm,
black ancestral wisdom, and I
mm,
wasn't gonna not do that.
mm,
And so using the page in a way that really reflects our methodology methodologies, traditions, intelligence, spirit, and histories um, was cause for a lot of rejection.
Yes. Yes.
And but I think overall, because I was so loved and so supported and had so many mentors and community people of all ages,
Mhm.
and as a community, as a touring artist, I had been and returned to so many places inside of continued ongoing long-term conversations of support. That was what I was focused on. That was the reason that I couldn't quit, even when there were time periods where I was really suffering financially and where I
Yes.
had I had a couple of boxes of rejections. I finally
Yes.
let them rejection things go.
Yes.
Uh, but um, but I was always able to do the work and make the work and feel a part of something so much larger than me.
Mm.
And even when there was time periods where in my mind I was like, why don't you do something else? And I couldn't. And I'm
Yes.
so
Wow.
grateful. But it showed the homophobia and the racism, and I would say classism, just all the stuff. Like it showed up all the time, but it was not what I was focused on.
Yes.
And
Thank you.
again, being stubborn and ignorant really helped. Being stubborn, ignorant, and loved.
Wow. Oh, stubborn, ignorant, and loved. I love it. That's
Yeah,
a book. That's a poem.
that's a poem
Yeah,
right there.
that's a poem.
Yeah.
So when we think about the blessings and the recognition and the awards that you have won, and that you were able to achieve these things while enduring the homophobia and the classism and the racism, it really, to me, shows the power in your spirit, but as well as of the ancestors that walk with you, because you have been unstoppable and you
Thank
refuse to be pushed into any boxes or to be silent or invisible. And every time you wrote a poem, Sharon, every time you published a book, to me, you empowered a whole generation,
you.
you know. Because again, back in the 1990s when I got to sit with you and the group of sisters that came, got to sit with you in that wonderful, intimate setting, you know, it was like I had never written a book. And God knows I was afraid of telling the stories that were inside of me.
Mhm.
But because you did it, it was like, I'm going to do it. And you
Mm,
survive, then I believe I can survive. And so
mm,
often we don't see because, we're just doing our work. We don't even
mm,
realize the influence and the
mm.
ways that our work. So I just want to honor you today and every
Thank
day
you.
for your courage, for your endurance, for your encouragement of myself and other writers. And there's
Mm,
some of those writers who you've touched. Hey, Darlene Franklin, are on this chat right now.
mm,
And Kathy asks, there's a question in the chat: is there a preferred place to order the books? Do you
mm,
prefer on Amazon or from your website? Where
mm.
would you prefer people to support?
Thank you so much for asking. The new Bull Jean and them they back 53rd State Press. You can just Google 53rd State Press and then get it directly from there, or independent booksellers, or however it is that you get your books.
It's awesome.
The list
It's
of publications is on my website, and then there's things to click.
beautiful. And
Yeah,
if somebody would just
yeah.
put, just real quick, just Google 53rd Street Press and put that link in the chat for me, somebody from production, please. And we, of course, have the website for Sharon posted, and we'll post it as we begin to publish this. This will be on YouTube. So the link will be available. We can share that widely today, share this interview widely. You're watching now with us. Please share the video, tag some friends, tell them about this, and most importantly, go out and get that book if you don't already have it. Go and get that book today. And I'm
Thank
so
you.
excited because we also have I have one of the books, and I posted a copy of this book of poetry. I'm gonna send it to you. I'll take a picture
Mm,
of it because I don't know if you're like me, like the early versions of my book, some of them I don't even have anymore.
Yeah.
So if you
Yeah.
like, I will send you that copy of that book that I was so blessed and fortunate to get all those years ago, over 25 years ago, to have that book
Wow.
with you. Yeah, that was
Wow.
just like, when you have those small gatherings like that and you can have a real conversation with the author, it's just
Yeah.
so enriching. And so I just want to
Wow.
encourage y'all who are watching this video, invite writers out to your community, whether it's
Yeah.
a large community or it's your college, your sorority, your fraternity, your cultural group, your church, your mosque, your elay. Invite authors to come and talk with your community because you
Yeah.
are our lifeblood. And like
Yeah.
Sharon was saying, how she was able to survive the homophobia and classism and racism is because of the love of community,
Mhm.
because we stood by her, and that's what we have to do for each other. I always say, forget about the petty differences. We have more important things to focus on, and that is our survival as humans and as people.
Absolutely.
And I know we're getting close to
Absolutely.
time. What is your message to the young writer, to the young,
Mm,
Black woman writer, or Black same gender loving writer, or Black queer writer, or even the Black dyke who is writing her first?
mm,
What is your
mm.
message to them today?
Thank you so much. Read, go find the works of the people that came before you. I think of This Bridge Called My Back,
Mm,
but Some of Us Are Brave, the Kitchen Table Women of Color Press, and all the people involved in that and all the work that they did. Find who you come from, how they
mm,
did it, and what they did, and
mm,
what they say about their path, so that you can know that you're not alone, so that you can have tools to build courage, and so that you can take care in good ways. Do it anyway, no matter what. Some things are important to do fully funded and, as we're able in
mm,
formal settings, but nothing can really keep you from
mm,
doing the work. You can do it with one person at your house.
mm,
You can have phone calls that help encourage and guide and support you.
mm,
But do the work. And then the work is precious and valuable, and you're the steward of it.
mm,
So I think also keep in mind that not everyone deserves to be or should be part of your process
mm,
as you care for the work.
mm,
So not everyone we love can respond in helpful ways to work in its development.
mm,
So I think just caring for the work and caring for yourself in the process is really, really important. And then
mm,
also know what your or notice what your creative process is. And
mm,
so how can you accelerate and amplify the making and sharing of the work by tending to the creative process that fuels the work.
mm,
So,
mm.
yeah, and so many
Yeah,
more things.
yeah, yes. And so many of us, I know Alexis and myself and others who are on this live, have also become publishers.
Yeah,
We have a small boutique press, Noble
yeah,
Trinity Media, and there's others
yeah,
who are right now on this live. So sometimes don't be discouraged if there are writers who are, aspiring writers who are watching this. If you go to the big houses and they don't publish your work, because
yeah,
sometimes a small press, a boutique press, even an academic press, those can really put your work on the map. So don't
yeah,
sleep on those smaller publishing houses if you get rejected by the larger ones. And I
absolutely.
tell you, the blessing, this last book deal that I got, and some of you know that I got a 3 book deal after 20 something years of writing. I never had a book deal before, like just a book deal for me. I was able to work with indie presses, but this was the first actual signing I did. I had gone to a Christian summit, writer summit. And I remember telling my partner, I was like, I'm not even gonna submit my book because I know they're gonna reject. And they're like, just submit it. So I tell you, when Spirit has something for you, and that's what Sharon was just saying, whether it's one person or 5,000, get your work out there because nobody's gonna learn about what you do by keeping it under the bed in the shoebox. That's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
but you got to
Mm-hmm.
put it there. And
Yeah.
so create that for yourself. Thank you for sharing that, Sharon, about um, and also knowing, like you said, not everybody can hold or help or even help
Mm-hmm.
birth or midwife
Mm-hmm.
your project. So finding those
Mm-hmm.
people who are good for you and that feel right to you is key.
Mm-hmm.
Really good
Yeah.
advice. What
Mm.
upcoming projects? This is our last question. I
Okay.
know time. What upcoming projects can we support of yours? Is there a next stop on the book tour? Is there a new play coming out? How can we support you and what should we watch out for?
Thank you. And congratulations on those book deals and on everything. Congratulations.
You know,
Um, right? Yeah. I would say my newsletter from my website is a good way to stay in touch because I when things are coming, I do send newsletters. Um, 53rd State Press is going to publish a collection of my work. So it will be all the performance texts that I've written,
oh,
um, along with writings by Black feminist artists, scholars who worked with me on each project.
jeez.
And it's a beast. It's like 500 something pages, so they're going to do it in two parts. So
Oh,
that's and the
my
book is called From the Marrow.
Mm.
And that's a term I got from Lori Carlos. She used to talk about bone marrow. Um, it's a long story, but
Mm,
and then
mm.
also Omi and I and Alexis and a whole bunch of people are in this. This just came out.
Oh.
So so you'll be able to get to it from my website or on Facebook. But it is a reprint of Cain by Jean Toomer
Mm-hmm.
and these brilliant artists, Diane Xavier, Carlos Sarah, and Anne Markin, sent an invitation out for people to respond to sentences or phrases or passages from Cain with prompts, writing
Mm,
prompts. And so it's this deck that is filled with lots of different people
mm.
offering prompts
Wow.
in connection with it. This thing is so beautiful, and they packaged. Oh, they just did such a. I'm so proud of it. So we just got our copy yesterday. It's just recently been, and so if you go to, this is probably the best way to
I'm gonna put the
access
link
it.
in the chat. Yes.
Okay, the press is called The Third Thing.
The
The
third
the
thing
third
press.
thing, yeah.
Mhm.
And the third is the number not spelled out. So the third thing press, and it's Cain, and you'll see that there.
Got it.
And I have a book that'll also be coming out in 2020 and 2025 called Before You Go.
Mm, come on now.
And woo!
Oh
So
no, you did.
yeah, this one is a series of letters, prayers, dreams,
Mm,
and spirit exchanges between me and my mom. And I feel like everything that I have ever written got me to this.
mm,
I think in this, I am looking her in her eye and I'm telling her I love her and I'm receiving her love of me back.
mm,
And it will be a performance. It's being supported by the Playwright Center in Minneapolis. So I'm still developing it, but it will be an interactive performance that will offer prompts to people present to engage in their own healing journey of release and care,
Mm,
and it will be a book. And the Bull Gene We Wake,
mm,
um, which is the second part of this book,
yeah.
ends with the beginning of this piece.
Mm, mm,
So, yeah,
mm.
yeah.
Whew, before you go, I mean, yeah,
Woo-hoo.
that socked me. That was
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
because you know, I was just sharing with someone who had recently lost their mom, and having survived that myself, the and recognizing, and in fact, I just put a post up about this, and you spoke during the interview about the healing with your mother and getting to a place of being healed around the relationship with your mother. And so I was writing about forgiveness and healing with one's parents, literally just like yesterday. And
Mhm,
so
mhm.
in this book, when you say before you go, what I wrote about, Sharon, is that there are things that you never get to say once they're gone and you can never do with them. And so,
Yes,
if it is possible, because
yes,
sometimes it's just not, it's so toxic, it's so unhealthy,
yeah,
even
yeah,
dangerous to do the
yeah,
work that we can't do it. But if there is a window for healing, I just encourage everybody to take it, because there's just some things that you can't do again once
yeah,
they're done in the physical. You can do things in the spiritual, as we both
yeah,
know, but
yeah,
in the physical, there's things that you miss out on. So that I can't wait for that. And we need to have a retreat. We need to fly in, have a group, have some good food. So, so I'm glad we have a lot of time to plan that, y'all. Y'all heard that date. I
yes.
put it in the comments so that we can start making our plan. And again, go visit the Schomburg, ask about the archive featuring Sharon's work, because we want to create buzz. We want to, if you work for the media and you're watching this, do an article about it, do a walkthrough, and
Mhm,
turn the camera
mhm,
on, do a live when you go. Because
mhm,
again, we have to galvanize and get behind each other's work and support each other's work in ways that ensure visibility and success,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
And that's
mhm,
that's how we can keep our voice and our vision alive. Sharon
mhm.
Bridgforth, I thank you so much for being a
Thank
guest on
you.
the show. I thank you
Thank
for
you.
your ever evolving and ascending body of work.
Mm.
Continue to touch us. You continue to transform communities. You continue to challenge the status quo and force us to recognize our brilliance and our
Mhm,
beauty through your work. And so we
mhm.
love you. We support you on this day and every day.
Oh,
And,
thank you
and
so much.
I put the social media handles up, y'all. So please follow her and find out more about the work that she's doing, and go in and go on a tour, go to book signings, to the play, tell people about it, get groups together so that we can support every square dollar. You're watching The Window. We say
Thank
goodbye for
you.
now, not goodbye, but see you next time
Yes.
to our
See you
fabulous
next
guest,
time.
Sharon
Thank you.
Bridgeford.
Mwah.
Love you all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Love you. Thank you so much.